I figure I'm going to try and make a little bit more of a serious video than usual. Especially in the current time we live in. It's a good thing that mental health is out there and people aren't ostracized for it. There's so many options if you need help for addiction, gambling, bipolar, ADHD, a lot of things, anxiety. That's kind of what I wanted to make this video about real quickly, was anxiety. I've always struggled with it. I never really knew what it was when I was younger. I always had like butterflies in my stomach and I was always nervous. I didn't really know that was anxiety till many years later. And I remember when I had my first panic attack, I was in like recovery. I went to a place to get like clean and sober, and I stayed there. I'm still there over like 11 years later. And I was offered to do like a program, like a study on like somebody that had like addiction and also a mental health issue. And I was wearing like headphones, and I just remember all of a sudden I couldn't get like a breath. I couldn't get a breath. And like 5 times in a row, I'm like, I got to stop this and let this person know. But I kept muscling through, and finally I told them, I'm like, I can't breathe. And I had never had a panic attack before, or nothing close to this level. And long story short on that, they were great. They stopped the study. We walked around the facility, God, for almost like an hour, until I kind of finally got like a breath and I calmed down. And that went away in that moment. But ever since then, sorry, I'm scrolling texts that come in. I don't know if you guys can see them, but that's what I'm doing. Ever since then, I've had anxiety attacks. Not usually at that level. I've had a few. And the first few I had after that, like, I didn't know what to do. You can read or be told. You can be a whole pamphlet, at least for me. If you feel like you're going to have a panic attack, if you're having a panic attack, do this. But in the moment, it kind of all goes out the window, at least for me. There were times I would just like run in the woods like a madman, like a chicken with the head cut off, because I didn't know what to do with myself. I was so uncomfortable. And for me, I can only describe my really bad panic attacks. I can't get a breath. It's like a door in my throat, and the door won't open, and the breath keeps getting, shallower and shallower. And I know technically I'm breathing, because if I wasn't, I'd be passed out and dead. But it's so uncomfortable, and I never knew how crippling panic attacks could be. I used to hear about them, and I would not bash them, but I would just kind of be like, oh, those are bad, but, whatever. They are crippling. I'm sure only a couple people are going to see this video. I just felt compelled to put it on. Like, what do you do for your anxiety? I know there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of, breathing is like a big one. Meditation, journaling, there's so many things that different people do. Luckily now, I'm on like a good combination of having medicine if I need it. And I also have tools to do, because I understand the medicine isn't like a long-term fix, but knowing I have it sometimes pushes me through the panic attack, if that makes any sense. If anybody's ever been addicted to alcohol or a substance, I think they'll understand that feeling. You feel, you need it. You're sick, sick, sick. And as soon as you get it, before you put it in your body, you actually start feeling physically better. At least that happened to me. And I've talked to doctors, and I guess that's a real sensation. Like if you're in withdrawals and you get your drug of choice, before it goes into your body, you start feeling, the dopamine starts getting released. You start feeling better. But I'm always paranoid about anxiety. I'm always waiting for that next panic attack. Like, I feel like it's like right around the corner. Kind of like a, oh, not a ghost. What do they call it? Like a shadow figure. Always like lurking. Like if I look real quick, oh, there it is. And usually it'll just run away. But it's scary, and I felt compelled to talk about it because I'm curious what people do. There might be somebody who sees this, highly unlikely, out of the 5 people that watch that have had anxiety for 30, 40 years. What works for you? I've done so many different things. I did so many different things in the beginning. Frozen oranges, just anything to kind of get your mind off focusing. Like, it becomes uber focused on the panic attack, right? At least it did for me. So I think the whole thing with the frozen oranges is just to distract your mind. And knock on wood, there's no wood around me. I'm leaning against marble. I haven't had a bad fantasy. Sorry, football starting. I got fantasy football in mind. I haven't had a bad panic attack in a little while. But like I said, I'm always waiting for that next one. For a while, I couldn't do long drives. They would kick in on the highway. It's the weirdest sensation that I think only somebody who suffers from real bad anxiety will get. It's like everything shrinks in, and it's like I'm in like I'm looking through like a tube, a paper towel. Everything becomes really. It's so hard to describe, and I felt like I was gonna crash, and it was a problem. I couldn't do long drives. I already can't fly. There's so many things I want to do, and I don't want anxiety to take it away from me. But as usual, I am rambling way too long. The basic point of this is, if you have, or even if you haven't had a panic attack in 20 years, what did you do? Like, what worked for you? Was it a combination of medication and, self-help groups, literature, meditation, a little bit of all of it? I'm curious because I'm trying to do less medication and more things that long term will fix it. Because like I said earlier, the medication only kind of fixes it in the moment, but I also need it. That was my point about the medication. I think I went on sorry. What I was saying about the medication earlier, kind of getting your drug of choice. If you're in withdrawals, before you took it, you'd feel better. Just having anxiety medication, sometimes I don't need to take it. But it's like as soon as I run out, I instantly start getting like anxious. I did a video the other day, just to be funny, chicken or the egg, which came first. Sometimes I don't know what comes first. Sometimes I'll be perfectly fine and I'll think about the anxiety, and all of a sudden my breathing starts getting shallow. I'm like, oh my God, here it comes. And then other times I'll be out and about and I feel totally fine, and I go to take a breath and I can't breathe. So I don't know if I think about it and it brings it on. I don't know if it's mental, more physical, a little of both. But for anybody out there that struggles with anxiety or any sort of mental health issue, OCD, bipolar, whatever, what do you do? Like, other than medication, which I'm a big advocate for. I mean, if it works for you, go for it. I don't think anybody should judge that, like, either way for anybody. If you can get by without medication, that's great. If you need it, then that's fine too. That's what it's there for. Life is so short. Like, I know so many people that muscle through and they don't take medication, but they're white knuckling it. So I'm like, again, whatever works for the individual. I'm just curious. I know all the medications that are out there for anxiety, bipolar, OCD, ADHD. What do you do other than take medications? I live near the woods, going for a walk in the woods. A walk, not like I used to do, the chicken with its head cut off and just run around like a madman, because I didn't know what to do with myself when I was having those panic attacks. But what do you do? Or do you have any advice? Or maybe there's something I've never thought about or never heard about. But
This is over 10 minutes. This is comically going to be avoided. But if I can get one person to give me a good piece of advice on what they do for their anxiety, it was all worth it. All right. I don't usually do serious videos. That's the end of that. Have a good one, guys.